Welcome to the Extra Hour. This is Katharine Giovanni, and I will be your host. ICLMA's Extra Hour is all about giving you that extra hour that all of you need out there, and my guests are all ICLMA Premier members who are all experts in time and lifestyle management, and their services are going to allow all of you listening to this broadcast to squeeze 36 hours into a 24-hour day, and who wouldn't want that? Today my guest is Janice Caine, and she is founder of Custom College Visits. Janice has over 20 years of travel industry and meeting planning experience, as well as an extensive background creating both domestic and international individual and group travel itineraries. She's traveled all over the world, as well as the lower 48 states and Hawaii. And as a parent of both college and high school seniors, she has hands-on experience with time-consuming details related to planning visits. So with that all being said, Janice, welcome to the Extra Hour.
Thank you, Katharine, for that great introduction. I'm glad to be here today.
You have me tired of just reading all the places that you've been to.
Oh, well, it's over an extended period of time, but it's something that I absolutely love. And being able to do what I love in terms of combining the academia and the travel just is so exciting for me.
Well, I think it sounds like an exciting thing. I've done a lot of traveling too, but not at your level. I've not been all over. So why don't you tell me what, I've just put the PowerPoint in front of everybody, so tell me about Custom College Visits. Tell me what the concept is.
The concept or the goal of what we do is to help families make the most of their time on the road while they're visiting colleges here as well as in Canada. Each student that's heading to college has different academic interests, different academic strengths, and they all have different extracurricular interests, and they're as well as looking for a different type of lifestyle. So what we do is we work with the families to make sure that as much as possible these students get to experience these different aspects of college life, these aspects that are most important to them when they're visiting each campus. So it's more than just coordinating the group tours and the group information sessions. We do that. That is always a part of the visit. But we make sure to set up individual meetings with faculty members in the areas that the students are interested in. We will schedule meetings with athletic coaches if that's something they're interested in, or with the club presidents or club advisors. We think it's really important for the prospective students to meet with current students, and we'll also even make arrangements for overnight stays for the students. Basically what we want them to do is to come away with a really good feel of what life is like on each of the campuses that they visit.
And once the young man or young woman is in college, do you go back, will you will you keep contacting them and help them if they need it?
Typically that isn't something that we have done. That's not to say that that we wouldn't do that, but it seems to be that for the most part, the student, once they're on campus, we don't have that much communication with them at that point. They're really pretty independent.
I have a son in college, and once he gets to college, we're on the pay no mind list. So
yes.
Believe it or not, I totally understand that as a parent, but looking at colleges, I think the value in having you guys there, and it's a lot of work taking your son or daughter around to schools and giving them a tour of the campus. Do you also give them a tour of the town where the college is, that sort of thing as well?
Because each trip is customized to the needs of the family, we will do whatever it is that they want us to do.
Oh, there you go.
So we do recommend that that's a big part of what they should be doing. They should be looking at that area around the campus. For instance, I had taken my son to see one of the schools in upstate New York, and he loved the school itself, but he did not was not thrilled with the area around the school, and that has definitely affected his decision as to whether he will want to apply there or not. It has to be, they have to really like the whole thing. And so yes, we do recommend that they do that, and if parents want recommendations for things to do while they're there, or
Right.
you know, whether it's cultural, whether it's sightseeing, we will work with them to make those arrangements or to give them suggestions as to what to do while they're there. So we specifically look at what's going on in the town or the city while they're there,
Right.
and we can make those arrangements for them.
And that's important that parents understand, you know, not every school is for every child. For example, my son is over at Appalachian State, which is in the mountains of North Carolina. And if you are from New York City and you expect to go to a city that's got nightlife, and Boone is not for you. Because it's in the mountains, and Western in North Carolina, another university, is even more remote. So you get a lot of, I see a lot of people staying for a semester or their freshman year and then transferring out of Appalachian State, and it happens a lot. And they want to go to a big school like NYU, or they want to go to, you know, the University of Charlotte. They want to be in a big city. So to have you look at parents and say, we need to talk about this, what is your son or daughter into, is, I actually think is huge. I think that makes,
Exactly.
I think that would make, you know, hiring you guys, I think, would be incredible value, because then you wouldn't waste time going all the way out to places like Western if your child didn't want it. Because they'd get out there and say, well, Mom, this is too remote. Okay, well, it's a 6-hour drive. Might have been nice to know that ahead of time.
Exactly. And what we do in the beginning of the process is we have an initial meeting. Many times the initial meeting, the first consultation, because of a lot of them happen during the day when the kids are in school. So a lot of times I'll talk just with the mom or dad, just so they get a better understanding of our process and what we do. And then from there, what I do is I will give the student a questionnaire with all those types of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it would ask, sometimes they don't know, and that's where, you know, because they're just beginning the process. But basically we're asking them, do you think you want a bigger school? Do you think you want a smaller school? Do you want to be in a city? Do you think you want to be in suburbia or even more remote? We ask them all those things. We ask them what their extracurricular activities. Do you want to continue those extracurricular activities? Are there things that you'd like to try in college that you haven't had the opportunity to do up until this point? So as you say, it's really finding out because what it is they want or what they think they want. Sometimes they'll get on a campus. What does big mean? Does big mean 500 acres, or does big mean 5,000 students? You know, sometimes you just don't know until you step foot on the campus. So that's exactly it. We're trying to help them find the school where they are going, or schools where they are going to be most comfortable and be able to engage in what's going on there.
How did you come up with the idea for the company?
There were a few different reasons why and how the company came about. One was that we saw firsthand a need for someone to plan these types of individual customized family college itineraries, and it initially came about because our daughter had gone with her high school class on a group tour to visit colleges on the East Coast. And because of the tight schedule, they experienced very little on each of the campuses, and they couldn't deviate from the preset itinerary that was scheduled. So there were days when she was not interested in visiting any of the colleges that were on the tour. There was one day where they could go to, I think it was MIT and Harvard, or Northeastern and Boston University.
Right.
And she wasn't interested in any of those. But because that was on the itinerary, she had to pick one pair or the other. And then there were other days where she was interested in all of the schools, but she had to choose from among them, so she couldn't see, say, 2 or 3 of the ones or there were 2, I guess, that she could visit, and 2 or that she couldn't.
Right.
So that was a little bit frustrating as well. So, and also the other thing was that because there were parents that parents couldn't go. So there was that issue that we weren't there to be able to provide the same feedback as if we had been there with her. So she didn't get a very good sense of the energy or the culture on those campuses, and we couldn't give her any of our point of view on that either. So that was one issue that we saw that was coming up with a lot of these pre-scheduled tours. The second reason I call my aha moment, I have a friend whose daughter was applying to college at the same time as my daughter, and she works full-time. She has 2 kids, and she travels extensively. And I was with her one afternoon, and she was trying to plan a college road trip back east. She was trying to figure out what to make for dinner, or she was trying to figure out how to get her young son to band practice, and she had to get on a business conference call. And in the middle of our conversation, she said to me, "I wish I had someone to plan this trip for me." And at that point, I went home, and I said to my husband, I could be that person. I could do this for all these people like her, and I would love to be that person. And up until this point, I had been working with family and friends, consulting with the college search process. I had worked with her a little bit. I had worked with a number of other friends. And I realized that when I was talking about this with my husband that there was a need for professional guidance for busy families like that. And that I
a lot of work.
Provide, yeah, and I could provide this service which would combine my love for academia and for travel.
That's great.
So that's basically how it came about.
That's great, because this is, as I've just gone through it myself, coincidentally enough, it is a lot of work figuring out where they should go, what they're interested in, and there's about 3 billion colleges out there all over the world. So, it's a huge project, and if you're a 2-income family and everybody's working, and then you have to figure out which week you're going to go, it's a lot of work. So I think your service is valuable and incredibly needed, because I haven't seen anything like it.
Thank you. Yeah, what we found too, there were issues, like you said, especially if you have 2 working parents in the family.
Right.
What we found was it's very difficult, especially if, for instance, you're on the West Coast and you're traveling to the Midwest or the East Coast. By the time you get home, it's too late to call the admissions offices on the East Coast or the Midwest. So
everybody forgets about the time zone.
Exactly.
I'm on the East Coast and you're on the West Coast, and there's a 3-hour difference. And I can't tell you how many times that my brain has stopped and I've picked up the phone at 10 o'clock in the morning, but of course, it's really early out there. So you find yourself apologizing 100 times.
I've been there as well. Yes,
Yeah.
Yes, I've been there. And yeah, so it was little thing. Well, you think they're little things like that, but it adds up to be both frustrating and, as you say, time-consuming.
Exactly.
And so we're trying to help people get past that.
Now, how is your company relevant to the concierge industry?
Catherine, you mentioned on ICLMA's homepage that among those who should consider membership with the organization are independent concierge, lifestyle managers, and personal assistants. And our company provides to families all these services at one time or another during the planning of the college visits and throughout their trip as well. So we're here to support families from the time the planning begins until they depart for home again at the end of their trip. So, for instance, let me give you an example. We got a call from a parent in Nigeria whose son was attending prep school in London, and she was frantic. She called us on a Wednesday to let us know that she would be arriving in Newark that Sunday. And she had a pretty long list of Ivy League and highly selective universities that they hoped to visit in the 4 days that they were planning to be in the U.S. So ultimately, we narrowed down the list of schools that worked best based on her, on priority, her son's priority, and the geographic viability. And with this short lead time, not only did I have to create a daily itinerary, but I also had to communicate it to them on a daily basis instead of giving them the entire itinerary in advance, which is in a perfect world, what I like to be able to do.
Well, yes.
You know, that's what we shoot for, but we pride ourselves on the fact that we can do it if that's not the case. So
It's all about
every
customer
night,
service, you know.
yes, exactly, exactly. Every night around 11, when they were finished with that day's activities and they were
Hmm.
back in their hotel room, the mom and I would speak by phone about the following day's plans.
Right,
And I kid you not, she would get on the phone each evening and she would say to me, "Where am I going tomorrow?"
right.
So it felt really great to know that I had established that level of personal trust with her, that she would feel good enough to be able to just the night before get her itinerary for the following day and go.
And I
And
feel the
basically,
need to point out to everybody listening that it is all about customer service. So the mere fact that this client was 8 hours ahead of you in time, you put the extra hour in, and I would imagine had to get up at all sorts of hours out in California so you could be there for your client, and that's going above and beyond, and that's what you do.
yes, and I love it because at the end, to see people come back to me and say they got out of their trip exactly what they wanted to get out of that trip, it's just ultimately so rewarding. It's so rewarding. And yes, that is something that we do tell our clients, is that we're here for you during the entire length of your trip. So if there's something you need, it's not just a matter of giving you the itinerary and you go.
Right.
Yes, by the time you go, you have an itinerary where all you need to do basically is show up and do everything that I've outlined on there, and everything will be planned for you. But if something changes or you need something, we are there for you during this entire trip.
And that's terrific, knowing that even if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, your client didn't have to think about, well, I wonder what time it is in California. You're there no matter what. And that's
Exactly.
brilliant. That's brilliant. It's exactly what people need.
Yes. It's
Now, if I was
exactly.
referring a client to you, how would you describe your clientele?
Well, our services best fit the needs of those families, both domestic and from overseas, that are planning multi-day itineraries to visit colleges and universities that are not close to home.
Okay.
So the family that I just talked about would be a good example.
So you do
Another
plan
example,
all over the world, not just the continental U.S.
we plan, basically we're making the arrangements for visits to universities and colleges in the United States and Canada, but our clientele is worldwide.
Okay. Okay.
So it's anybody that's coming to or is going to or planning to study in the United States or Canada. So
Okay.
we don't, right now anyway, we don't arrange for visits to colleges overseas. It's basically inbound into the United States and North America, basically. And another example would be a family from, let's say, the San Francisco area who is planning a week-long trip to, let's say, Washington, D.C. and New York, and they're looking to check out schools such as George Washington, Georgetown, Columbia, NYU. If they are looking for in-depth arrangements on college campuses, then we would be the right people for them to contact. For instance, I recently arranged an itinerary for a high school junior who's interested in studying international affairs. And at each school that he visited, I arranged for him to meet with professors that taught in the departments that he might be interested in. So it might be international affairs, it might be political science, any of those types of professors. I had arranged for somebody for him to meet with at each of the schools that he visited. And then we also arranged for him to meet with current students that are involved in Model UN so that he could hear about their experiences firsthand. So he got a chance to talk to somebody that wasn't necessarily a tour guide, but that was a current student, and so he could hear about their experiences and what they had to say, not just about Model UN, but also about living on campus, about where their favorite places were, anything that they wanted to discuss at that point above and beyond even Model UN. And he was also able to sit in on classes at several of the schools in the areas that he was interested in. So it really gave him a taste of what it was like to be at that school. It was really, he got a sense of the flavor of the campus, the energy, the culture of the campus, what kind of students go there, what did he, what was the, even, he could ask, he he in particular was really good at asking questions of the people that he met, both students and faculty members. What do you like? What do you think is the weakest part about your experience here, even? Just so he got a feel for all of it.
Right.
What is the best thing about it? What do you like the best? What is the workload like in the major that you're taking? So he was hearing it firsthand.
And that's what it's all about. And as it was with your daughter, they didn't waste their time. You know, the concierge industry is all about time, and we are here to give people more time in their day and allow them to squeeze in those extra hours, if you will. And, you know, college visits are indeed costly and time consuming. So if you add to the cost of 4 years of undergraduate education, what makes this worth the investment?
Well, there are a variety of reasons why we believe that students should visit at least several colleges during their sophomore and junior years in high school. And we're adamant about students visiting those they are most interested in after being accepted before they make their final decision. I'll just give you an example of one of the reasons why we feel so strongly about it. One client that we worked with from overseas felt strongly that her son should visit his top choices before he applied. And the reason was that her older daughter had decided, sight unseen, that she wanted to attend a top university in Texas.
Okay.
And an entire school year hadn't even gone by before she decided that she didn't like it and she didn't want to stay.
My son told me he knew several people that happened to him their freshman year, and yeah, happens.
Yeah, and so it does happen more than you would think. And so not only had they paid the tuition, but they had also incurred hefty travel expenses for her to be there. And at that point, they not only had they spent that money, but they then had to start the search process all over again.
Which is time-consuming and, again, costly because, well, there's fees for this and fees for that and application fees and, you know, on and on it goes.
Exactly. So she did not want that to happen with her son, so she felt that in the long run this was the better way to move forward. And I'll just give you another example. Many colleges gauge the student's level of interest by whether or not a student has visited their campus. So if possible, it does make sense to visit. So some colleges don't. There are just, there are some that, you don't even have to check in when you visit, but some colleges actually do gauge your level of interest. So they even ask on their supplements, because a lot of these colleges have supplements in addition to the common application. And on the supplement, they ask, have you visited our school? When did you visit our school? And how much effect that has on the decision process, I don't know for sure. But certainly, for example, if they had 2 students and they were looking at these 2 students and comparing, we can only take one, there's a possibility that they're going to look at the student that showed that extra interest, and that might be the student that they take.
And there's the golden nugget. That's, for everybody listening to this broadcast, that's the reason to hire Janice. She's got this golden nugget. She knows what she's doing. She knows the ins and outs and the, if you will, the secrets of that particular industry. And it's, from my point of view, with a son in college, I think it's worth every penny.
Thank you. We're very pleased with the feedback that we get from parents and students in terms of what they get out of these trips. So it's very rewarding for us to hear that. We have on our student section of the website, we have a page specifically for students, and we list there many of these benefits of the college visits. And we often recommend that both parents and students take a look at this page so that they get a better understanding of the importance of these campus visits. And it's, as I say, we think it's extremely important.
I think it's great. So I do have on my screen in front of everybody, everybody listening, as you're looking at Janice's information. If you are listening to this broadcast, Janice, if people would really like to hear more about your service and they'd like to contact you, how would they do that for those listening who don't have the PowerPoint in front of them?
They can give us a call. The phone number for them to reach us would be area code 650-931-4515, or they can certainly send an email to my attention, and that would be Janice, Janice, at customcollegevisits.com.
And I think it would be helpful if they would tell you a little bit about their child and what year in high school they are, and maybe some, a few thoughts about where do you want a city, do you want rural, do you want mountains, do you want a beach. I always hesitate, referring people to a college at the beach because I'm not entirely sure they're going to go to class. It's like going to college down in Orlando. I mean, Disney's right there.
Yes.
That's just me. But yeah, I think that it would be helpful if you could include some information about your child too, so Janice can certainly contact you quickly and give you some really good information.
Great.
Well, thank you, Janice, for being here today. I really appreciate it, and I hope everybody out there will take some time to visit customcollegevisits.com. You can also read about Janice on ICLMA's website, which, of course, is ICLMA.org. And if you're listening to this broadcast and you'd like to be on our show, you can go to ICLMA.org and just go to our list of benefits. This is a premier member benefit, and all our premier members are right there. So thank you, Janice, for being with me, and we look forward to speaking to you soon.
Thank you, Catherine. I appreciate being able to share some of the insights for our company today.
Thanks so much.
Okay.